Hey everyone, welcome to the Lake Michigan Angler Podcast. I'm Rob and this is Michael, and today we're here with Mike Keller, Captain Mike Keller of Foul Dog Charters.
Welcome.
Hi.
Glad to have you here. I'm glad this is our second take starting this after the first.
Right on, yeah.
Fumble the water here, almost got on electronics. Today we're going to have a conversation with you, which I think is really interesting. And first, thank you for coming in. I know you made quite a trip here.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about king fishing. And more specifically, in something that you are, I guess we'll say like a specialty within just fishing generally, but you have a special or unique way you're going about your king fishing in that you like to do a lot of night fishing.
Yeah, I love to fish them at night. I feel like they bite a little more aggressively at night. They feed a little harder. And it's not every night. It's certain nights out there. It's got to be pretty clear. And that moon's got to be shining pretty hard on some soft water.
So let's kind of, before we dive into all of that, kind of walk me through when it was for you that you kind of started to do that. Because most times we're talking about fishing here, it's early morning, first light, maybe some afternoonish, maybe some right into the evening on that, sun going down. But not a lot of people are spending that in the dark and fishing them overnight. And sometimes, right? Because I think we talked before, and you said sometimes you'll stay out overnight.
We run a trip from 4 p.m. to 9 a.m. On the full moons, and we do that if it's calm and clear on the full moon night. We'll go out and we'll run that from 4 p.m. until 9. Usually boat 30 kings. And that's what we keep. We've caught as many as 120 fish in a night. I started catching them at night after work when I had a job and I couldn't, getting up at 5, going to work, getting done at 5, and I wanted to fish and I wanted to catch my kings, and I started catching them in the fall. Like everybody, hey, I'm going to go fish them from the wall.
Yeah.
Then got in a boat with a buddy of mine, Brian Klein, captain. He taught me pretty much how to drag a trolling line, and it was on from there. We fished them at night, hand jigging them and skiing, and then we would troll them even into McKinley Harbor right there during the run. Mm-hmm. And started fishing them in the summertime, and the night just became like the thing that.
How did you even stumble on it?
Well, because
how did you say let's just do this, and how did that kind of begin?
Well, I look at it. They're a predator fish,
right?
They eat, and they're going to eat, and they get to 35 pounds in 4 years, so they don't stop eating. And all predator fish eat at night around the full moon cycle. If you want to catch a muskie at night, go on the full moon, and you're going to bang them. And I looked at a lot of the similarities between them and every other predator fish that there is, and I was like, this got to work, and this is the only time I have to do it.
Right.
So we started doing it at night, and it really paid off. I mean, we run some big numbers at night.
So it was more of that was your availability,
right? It was,
and so you're trying to make it work back then.
Yeah,
okay, so that was you learned it because you had no other choice. You couldn't do it during the day,
right?
Wow, that's really interesting.
Well, I ran a remodeling company during the day,
right?
So that was full time.
Yeah,
that was nonstop, and I wanted to catch fish, so you're gonna go when you can go.
So when you first kind of starting this, I'm guessing here, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you would just go out on the whim on a night. When did you refine it to say on the full moon nights, or did you start exactly on the full moons, or did you start just trying to go at night period?
It started in the fall, like in August. We're just going to go fishing. Every night we're going.
Okay.
And then, as a fisherman, you're an outdoorsman. You pay attention to what you're seeing, what's going on. You're learning every single time you're on the water. And you go out. And what I was noticing is the closer that it would get to the moon and the more clear it was, they would bite harder. To me, I don't know this for a fact. I'm not a scientist, but I believe the bait shines better in the moonlight at night.
Probably contrast better. Right, yeah, right. I think it's,
and they really see it. And when the conditions are right, it's triples and doubles and quads all night long, and it's a blast. I mean, we have videos and footage of it and pictures of everything. And we run a lot of stuff on our webpage and on our Facebook pages and Instagram pages. But it was, by necessity. And I started refining it, just going to where I was catching them during the day.
Yeah, I was going to ask, and kind of following up on that, right? Which is, how does that program differ at night versus what we would normally do during the daytime? Let me knock the water over again.
The cool thing is at night, I think it's a little easier, to be honest. During the daytime, you're looking at water temperatures and thermoclines and where the fish are and what the pattern is and all of the stuff. Okay, and you got to cover all the water column.
Right.
At night, you eliminate probably about half of the water column just underneath.
What are you looking for at night versus the day?
Feeding in the top.
Oh, so you're fishing higher in the water.
They're fishing a lot higher in the water column. We're usually running 3-color, 5-color, 7-color, 10-color, or 100, 150, 200, 250. Usually the top 50 feet. In July, if it's real late, like
and roughly in what depth of water though? Are we talking still in the hundreds?
Where your kings are.
So where they were in the daytime?
If it's May, we could be in 50, 60 feet.
Okay.
If it's August, we might be in 250 feet.
Okay. So
if they're there during the day,
then they're in the same area. They'll just move up.
Yep.
Got it. Okay.
And that's a lot of people when they look at their screen, they think all them lumps at the bottom are just Lakers. I'm starting to realize, and a lot of us are starting to come to see that they're actually not only Lakers.
Yeah.
And that kings do in fact eat goby fish as well. They're down there on the bottom, and when you're running your Dipsies during the day at 250 feet back, and they're dragging 5 feet off the bottom, and you're catching kings, that's probably a pretty good place to start at night. Because those fish are coming up in the water. They don't love the light. We know that for a fact that kings don't like the daylight. Yeah,
well, we know that it's easy to tell because just in the fall when the kings come in the harbors, when the sun's water's already warm, they don't like that.
Yep.
But man, when that sun is out, they sit in that bottom.
Shut right down.
Yeah, they shut down right to the bottom. Just and we've been on some. We did some videos with some other captains, in particular. Sean. And he was dragging some off the bottom, and he pulled a couple of kings off the bottom, and he was kind of speaks to that, right? Like they will sit down there.
And I started seeing that I caught a king a couple years back on a trash can rig, like running 6 inches off the bottom, just looking for Lakers to get fish in the boat, and all of a sudden there's a king on, and we're like, holy cow, they do live down there in the deep.
Yeah. And they will eat spinning glows because they use spinning glows in the West Coast all the time, still for their king. So
they use a lot of weird stuff out there.
They probably think we're weird, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
Every other fisherman thinks we're weird. All the stuff we're dragging around all day.
Yeah, just don't. I've learned just don't hold up a picture holding a brown trout like you're holding it through the gill because you're harvesting it, right?
Right.
Because once it goes on Instagram and the Montana brown trout snobs see it, oh my God, they're in my comments.
You killed that fish.
Yeah.
You killed that fish.
Don't put him in the gill.
Oh my God.
It's a put and take fisher, dude. We're not fishing for 15-inch stream brown brook trout that, you guys, Anyway, sorry, hopefully they see this. I don't care. They annoy me. So they come up in the water column. That's pretty nice though that you get to fish them with like not as long lines, per se,
Yeah, I mean 3, 5, 7, 10. That's a good distance, but it's not,
It's not like a 450 copper in the daytime or 500. Some of the maniacs that run the 600s.
In August, I do run a 400 copper at night if I need to.
Oh, really?
Like when you're looking at them, they do water temperature a little bit. And they will push down as it gets deeper and deeper in the thermocline. But when that thermocline's in that 50, 60 foot range, they're not below. They're eating all up on top because all the bait's up on top.
Right.
You drive through the harbor at night, you see all the bait in the rivers everywhere on top. If you sleep on your boat all summer long, you'll see fish come in there and eat in the river on top all night long. And that's kind of some of them things that, got me thinking back in the day, like, oh, geez, maybe we'll try this night thing. And it really worked out. And it's glow spoons. I mean,
I was going to
pick
say,
your
Nash,
favorite one.
are
I
you?
mean, everybody has their.
Yeah.
I mean, dancing anchovies is always a good one. Night crawler's a good one. Mongolian beef's a good one. Atomic watermelon's a good one. Those are all basic starter. You put those on each side, you're gonna catch fish.
Yeah.
From there, figure out what color they want. You got flounder pounders. I don't run a lot of RV stuff at night. I run RV during the day, just straight glow at night. I want it as bright as possible. So
you're nuking it with the light to really get it.
I'm nuking it with the LED, and I'm thinking about getting one of the new shine boxes. Those look pretty cool. They glow them up pretty good.
Do you notice when we're talking about glowing the spoons? Do you notice by the time you take a fish, you bring it in, do you glance at the spoon? Do you notice what level of brightness compared to when it first started that you catch? Because I think that's an important thing.
I don't think it always matters, but I think on some days it does.
Okay.
It's like everything. If you have fish that are eating and you're in the column, they're going to eat. I'm a believer that a salmon, if you get a blue flounder or a green flounder and 60 feet of water and they're eating, they don't care.
Right.
They're going to eat it. But when they do care, there's a big difference. You know, you can run the same bait 10 feet away from each other and one catches fish and one don't.
But in terms of the glow, you know what I'm saying? Like if you ever really bright,
I throw them in.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
I've seen them
okay, when it's
after 4 hours and you pull it in and you're like
barely
glowing.
Yeah.
But
because I find that part interesting.
I think the glow itself is the big deal, and I don't think there's too much. I honestly don't. Like when you put them in right away, and every time we catch a fish, we reglow them. Okay. I don't pull them out unless they haven't been in. If they haven't caught a fish in a couple hours, then I'm changing them anyway.
Okay.
You know, then something's not working because they should all be getting fish. It's the same philosophy as during the day. Each one of your rods should take a fish. Mm-hmm. You know, you're out there from 4 until 9. That's a lot of hours.
That's a lot.
You know? And what I found though is we get a great pre-dark bite. You're always going to get that, and then you always have a really nice bite between 10 and 11.
So we're talking about like that sundown, like
right at last light.
Yeah.
You know, like that sundown.
Right, the sun's down, but it's still at the light.
30 minutes between sundown and last light is your phenomenal time.
Yeah.
You know, if you're only going to fish for an hour today, fish that hour.
Mm-hmm. You said you like the full moons and the clear nights. When you're looking at the moon phases, are you paying attention to the majors and the minors and then seeing?
I don't look at that at all.
Okay.
I look at what time's it getting dark, what time's the moon coming up. If the moon's coming up at 3 in the morning, I'm not going to go out at 9 p.m. and drive around in the dark all night long. That doesn't make any sense. You'll catch a couple of fish, but I found that unless that moon is really shining on that water, and it doesn't have to be even a full moon. If it's a half a moon and it's totally clear and it's super bright out, that's a great night to go. But it has to be moony. The best nights are when the sun goes down at 9:30 and the moon comes up at 9:45.
When it's up and early, right? So I've seen those.
Down at, you know, when they call it Star Wars days or whatever. The moon is coming up at the same time the sun's going down, and then it's setting at the same time as the sun's coming up, so that you always have moon all night long. That's going to be your best, most productive time. But you know,
so you get that last light bite, and then what are some of those other windows?
Usually it's like 11.
Okay.
And then like 1 to 2.
Okay.
And then your traditional 3 o'clock on. But I started staying out there for a couple of reasons because, one, I didn't live where I was fishing, so it was a half an hour, 45-minute ride to get in and get out and do all the things. And at 11, you catch a fish, and you're like, all right, one more fish. And then all of a sudden it's 12, and you're like, one more fish.
Yeah,
and,
the one more fish will get you every time.
And it kept me out until dawn.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I would go on these runs, it would literally be like one more fish until dawn. And so I was like, I'm just going to plan on staying on all night then.
Yeah.
Because I'm not, like, I'm the kind of person that if I'm laying in bed and the fish are biting all night long, I'm laying there thinking about how come I'm not catching fish. You know what I mean? I'm not getting any sleep anyway, so why not go out and fish?
So in terms of, I know you mentioned spoons. Are you pretty spoon heavy?
It's all spoons.
It's all spoons.
Yeah,
Really.
yeah. I'll run flashers and flies right up until dark. I run a full regular day program right up until dark.
Until dark.
You know, usually, you know, you got your riggers and your dipsies and your boards out, and I'm usually running flashers and flies on the riggers and dipsies and spoons on the board lines. And then right as that last light comes through, when we're catching fish or as we're changing gear out, I will pull my spoons, like if it's going to be dark at 9:30, I'm going to glow them super hard at 8 o'clock. I don't want to be pulling them at 9.
Like at prime time?
At prime time.
Okay.
Trying to glow these spoons up. I talk to guys on the radio that are out there in the evening, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? And they're like, oh, we're just starting to glow spoons. I'm like, they should be in the water. You know, and I also believe that your 3 colors and your 5 colors, you don't need to pull them to glow them. The sun's done that for the last 3 hours. You know, your 7 color doesn't get as much sunlight, and your 10 color doesn't get as much sunlight.
So
but
focus
your
on
top
those.
2, you know, pull your deep stuff first, get it glowed, and then get it back in. And then I run a Dipsy on each side, and I'll run a rigger on each side, and then 3 boards. And I put lights on the board so I can see them. Don't need to get fancy. I ordered tea lights from Amazon. I get 12 of them with the batteries in them for $10. Little double-sided Velcro tape.
Yeah,
Stick them on the board, and you're good to go. Run red and green so people know what you're doing. Like running back there with all reds or all greens just gets confusing to people. The big thing to watch out for, like we had it last year, the NOAA boat was out taking ground samples or whatever, and that guy don't care. He don't care if you're dragging lines or if you're not dragging lines or who you are or what you are. He's not moving. He does not care. The other thing that we found out last year in the Racine area anyway, in Kenosha, the barges like to cut the corner at night. And they'll go right across the reef in 20 feet of water like it was cool, and you won't even know. You're looking around and you're like, what is this coming at me? And you got the Starship Enterprise in 20 feet of water. And you're like, oh my God, dude, I'm dragging 10 lines in the dark. And you're like right on my, right on my line. Cool. Thanks, bro.
That's got to be a little weird.
It's super weird.
At night, it's different.
And they don't look like, it's funny because we're all taught night discipline and light discipline and don't run these colors and don't run that colors. And these guys are running 75 white lights. And there's 1 red and 1 green that are about as big as the lights on your little screen there on each side. And you're like, which way is he even going?
Right.
And they're going so slow sometimes you can't even tell if they're going
at all.
Which direction.
Yeah.
And really you shouldn't be inside the reef marker in Racine if you're in a barge. I would think that would be dangerous water.
Well, so why not flasher flies?
I don't think they work as good. I mean, I've had guys tell me, they go out at 3 a.m. and they'll run whatever and get a bite on a spin doctor. Okay, cool. I got 1 fish in the dark on a flasher and fly. I got 6 on a spoon while you're running your 1 flasher and fly. So I don't want to waste that line. It really comes down to it. Do they catch fish in the dark? Sure. Do they catch as many fish in the dark? Not at all. And everybody that fishes there's a good amount of guys that do fish in the dark on this side of the lake.
I was gonna ask you, what's that community like of people? I'm sure it's a very small within.
It's pretty small.
Yeah.
There's a couple in Racine, a couple in Milwaukee. A lot of guys used to do it or tried it and then found out, hey, we'll just fish them during the daytime.
Yeah.
It used to be a lot more popular.
Yeah.
And then
it's kind of an old guy
when
thing.
we started having less and less kings, people kind of got away from it because they weren't catching anything else at night. It was just kings, and we didn't have kings to catch. Well,
right,
not
and that is
not a
the
very
thing.
fun night.
You're probably going to get a couple of steelhead. You might get a coho right at last light or whatever, but you're out there to catch king, so run king stuff because other stuff's not biting.
And it definitely started
The cool
to
thing
see.
is you don't get Lakers at all.
I was gonna. That's interesting, right? I mean, you got spoons out. Why wouldn't a coho take? Why wouldn't?
They don't seem to feed at night.
Wow,
I mean, hundreds
okay.
and hundreds of night trips that I've been on, and I think, like last year, we had a trip. I distinctly remember we caught over 120 fish. We kept 34-year-olds, and we threw back all in probably 10 cohos out of 120. And like everything was eating that night, even Lakers, which is pretty rare for them to eat at night. And when they do, they're right on that 3-color.
They'll come up that high, even in that.
Super high.
Wow.
Yeah.
Brown trout are good night biters, but you're
Brown
probably
trout,
not fishing where
but
they
we're
are.
not usually
Yeah.
like at night. Sometimes if we get in real shallow, or I get lost, or not paying attention, or we get a fish on and you got to keep a line, we'll get up by the power plant in front of there and usually drag a 5-color in 25 feet of water, and you can pound the daylights out of huge browns at night. They're anything blue.
Mm-hmm.
Drag a blue flounder and a blue Mongolian beef and like whatever that blue crab apple color is called now. A ratchet jaw. Anything.
Yeah.
Anything blue, and you're gonna pound them, and I mean big ones, like the big 20, 25, 30 pounders, like big ones.
Wow. So how long is this now that you've been doing this? It's kind of special, like specialized within the salmon fishing.
Like offering trips for about the last 4 years.
4 years.
Personally, gosh, we started doing it probably 15 years ago, but didn't do it for a while, and then did it a lot for a good amount of time.
So now, because you are running trips, and that is a very unique experience. What do some of the clients think about it? What's their kind of experience like? Because it's not just
feedback-wise, the first thing I hear is, "Oh my God, that's so much money," because it's a $1,500 ride. I mean, you're basically running a full day.
Yeah.
So it's about the equivalent of 2 6-hour trips. So that's the first thing I hear from everybody. "Oh my God, it's so expensive," and then they go on it. And then everybody that went on it last year is rebooked this year already. I have 3 days left that are full moon trips, and I probably have 50 or 60 trips left total. So you think about how fast, like that, that trip went after people have been on it.
Right. Because of that experience.
Because of the, well, I mean, I can take 6 guys like anything else, but I don't recommend it. Taking 4 is a great time because you all get a lot of rod time. The other thing is it's not like a typical trip because like you're going to maybe sleep and you're going to maybe sleep and I may need a nap too. So I got to teach you how to run the rods. I got to teach you how to set the gear. So that's another thing that guys that want to learn how to do this come out with me and pay for a night. And I show them how to run the whole program because you're going to have to at some point grab a rod and reel.
Right.
You're going to have to at some point set it back in because when I say we get doubles and triples and quads, it's not I'm not kidding. We will get 4 or 5 fish on at a time. I have a cool video where I'm running a guy, solo friend of mine, on a full moon run last year. And we had 6 rods in and 4 of them went off and there's 2 of us. And he's screaming, "You do this every day?" And I'm like, I wish I did it like this every day. But at night, that's what it's like. We just bang on them. It's a great time.
So when we can do this, Rob?
It's been a while since I've done that. We have to do it for sure.
That sounds like
I mean, we've done
Get your monsters out.
way back in the day. We would fish in our kayak all night even.
Yeah.
I did a few nights like that.
Well, I've
during
done it
Sanorama,
See, there's no way.
Show
I'm
up
not doing the kayak thing.
Yeah, I know. That's
we'd get to the water at 9:30 and get off at 8:30 in the morning.
That's a young man thing. That's like what I did in my 20s for 500, Alex.
It really is. I mean, I'll be out there. I've gone out there during the fall run and stay overnight. But you're in the harbor and stuff like that. It's different.
Right,
Even then, it still feels weird to be on the water in the dark.
Yeah.
You don't get the light from the city.
And that's
Still
really
you got to get
very
used to just looking at your chart plotter. You're just steering by your GPS.
Yeah,
You're not,
absolutely.
Well, and
looking-
that's the coolest thing about being out there at night, and what people don't realize until you're out in the moonlight on the water, it's exactly like being in a great big field after it snows when the moon is full, and it's bright as daylight. Once your eyes adjust to the darkness and you're in the boat, and when we're on what I call the moon side, when the moon is in the back of the boat and we're driving.
Okay, so that's
So the moon is shining on us.
Yeah.
And not it's you don't even need the light on. We run headlamps and I got a big light on the deck. But a lot of times we won't even need to turn them on because it's so bright. It's so intense because there's nothing stopping that light at all. And
Right.
it's bouncing off of everything. And that's what I think fires them fish up, though.
Yeah.
When that moonlight, you look out and the moon trail it's 3 miles long on the lake, and you see all the ripples, and they're all shiny.
Yeah.
It's almost like you can see the elements shining in the water.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that because I know many of us know, especially if you fish in that evening period, that sundown period, what's always so cool to me is, you'll be fishing there, 80, 100 feet of water. You're looking at your graph and it's dry as day. It looks dry, right?
Yeah.
As soon as that sun starts trickling down, all of a sudden everything, like this wave of stuff just comes up, right? And it's all littered up. So what are you looking on your fish finder? What is it telling you? What are you looking for? Is it different in any way compared to daytime?
Not any different than it is during the day, but the biggest difference is where it is. So like during the day, like you said, you can see it, or it's kind of like watching fly hatch. You see that pod on the bottom, and then you fly over it again later in the day, and it's 10 feet off the bottom. Then it's 30 feet off the bottom. Then it's 50 feet off the bottom. It's the same way at night. So the bait, you'll see it at 4 or 5 o'clock when we get out there, it'll be at the bottom.
Right.
And you see it clumped up at the bottom and not moving like anything else. And then as it gets darker and darker and darker.
Yeah, they start rising up.
Yeah. And that's why we're fishing that higher in that column, because that bait goes up in that column. And, in the summertime, I think they feed better because it exposes the bait. You know what I mean? Like when that bait's pushed down at the bottom, it's protected from the bottom side.
Yeah.
And then they can't go straight down on it because they'll hit the bottom. And then, so they only have one way to feed on it. They got to go straight horizontal.
Right off the bottom.
When that bait lifts up in the column, they can go whatever way they want through that school, and they get super aggressive.
Yeah. And we had Dan Keating here for his yearly salmon school 2 weeks ago or so.
Yeah.
And one part, and we put up a bunch of clips, by the way, if you guys didn't see it on our Instagram, a couple of reels, it's also on our Facebook page. Some really, really interesting stuff he talked about in terms of what was it, currents and stuff.
That's Dan's the reason why I fish at night, because I can't figure out all them currents and stuff. It's all rocket science to me. No, I'm kidding. No, that guy's a genius when it comes to Lake Michigan.
So one of the things he mentioned was that when we're talking about, or as we're talking about how fish will feed out of temp and all that stuff, obviously what you're saying here at nighttime is a prime example. They'll come up in that warm water because there's no light. So they'll come in the warm water as long as they've got that light penetrating on them.
Right.
They'll deal with that. They'll feed. And
they're doing this in the column. So, if you're, and it's especially great if the thermocline's above 60 feet.
Okay.
If any time it's above 60 feet, it's awesome, because they'll swim in that colder water and they'll come straight up eat, and then they'll go back down.
Yeah.
And the reason why I like the glow spoons, and they gotta be bright. Like I use the moonshine spoons a lot. Some of the new salmon candy spoons are pretty bright. The Dreamweaver stuff is getting a lot brighter than it used to be. They got a new one last year that was really bright. It did a really good job for us. But they have to be, because those fish can cover 100 feet that fast. I mean, they're so fast. People don't realize, like, oh, you're going 3 miles an hour in the dark trying to catch fish. That's too fast. Well, I've been going 5 and looking for fish and had them bite, because they're going 40 or 50 miles an hour, so they can fly through the water column. And if they're down here swimming and my bait's up here with all the rest of the bait, I want them to be able to see that.
Stand
and I want
out.
it to be brighter than the silver alewives that they're eating. And, sometimes it's a blue glow and sometimes it's a green glow, because each spoon glows a little bit different color.
Yeah, the hue to it. Yeah, the hues are.
And sometimes that makes a big difference too.
Yeah, I've literally watched. I'm kind of recapping that. I know I mentioned the Dan part. The part that was interesting to me was he talked about how they'll come out of temp and all that. He also talked about how those salmon kings specifically will feed vertically. They'll shoot from the bottom up on something. And I when he said that, I was like, yeah, I've seen that on live scope. I've literally watched the bait coming through and the fish shoot vertically up to swipe at it.
I've watched it from the tower. The water's so clear now in the summertime. During the days, sometimes I'm just sitting up on top of the fly bridge and facing backwards looking at all the rods. and you can see the fish come straight up from like on a 3-color, and you're just watching that out the back, and you watch this streak of bubbles just torpedo from underneath it and hit it, and it's cool. That's usually when the steelhead goes straight out of the water when they hit.
They drive. Yeah, they push.
Like when the steelhead's here and the rod hasn't even moved yet.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, there's a fish on. Which one's it on? Let's get it. Let's figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, they definitely feed.
And so primarily kings, obviously, not so much with cohos. They just knows they don't feed quite the same way that the kings do, huh?
Right.
And then
and we catch an amazing amount of steelhead at 60 feet. And unreal in the dark, 60 to 90 feet down there. Just like we'll run the Dipsies on the sides. So we'll have 3-color, 5-color, 7-color, 10-color, and then we'll run the 2 riggers, and then we'll run the Dipsies. And the Dipsies will run like 10 feet off the bottom, and the riggers will split the difference between.
Oh, so your Dipsies are your lowest?
So my Dipsies are going to be my lowest.
Really?
I feel like they present a little better in the dark. My riggers don't go off as much as my Dipsies do ever.
What's the lead from the Dipsy? Because you're running spoons on those, right?
Yeah, I'm usually about the length of the rod. So if you got an 8-foot rod or a 9-foot
so that's pretty
rod
close to
or
the
a
Dipsy.
10-foot rod, I'm very, very close to the
Wow.
Dipsy. I don't handline Dipsies in. I'm not going to unclip them. They get lost and they get kicked in, and especially in the dark. I run either clear or black Dipsies with UV tape on them.
Okay.
I think that UV flash is a big deal.
Especially in the night.
Yeah. I think that's a big deal. It just catches their eye. Again,
Right.
I'm still running a glow spoon though.
Yeah.
A bloody nose on the Dipsy is pretty much, on the low Dipsy, that's pretty much a staple.
Got it.
And that catches a lot of fish.
Oh, that's right. I think that's interesting. The Dipsy's down being the lowest, especially.
Yeah.
And your riggers that don't pull quite as much. I mean, brunt of the work is being done by the lead cores, and would you say?
Most of the work's being done by lead cores and the Dipsies. Yeah. I mean, we do catch some rigger fish, but not as many as we do on the lead cores and that. And I'm running, like secret weapons on the.
Oh, on the riggers.
Riggers too.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We want
Okay.
them. We're also running them really far back, 100, 150 feet back. But we're running 2-color and 3-color secret weapons to get them back there and give them. I just like the way lead. Like even if I'm gonna run a copper at night, I'll tie a color of lead on the backside of it, just to give it that flip.
Yeah, we know some guys that'll do that. Yeah, for that same reason, just a little bit of undulation.
Flip that lead gives it. I think.
Yeah.
I think that copper, is really good for paddles, and it just doesn't give that spoon that flip. That's my personal feeling. I'm not.
Yeah, and then
Not an expert by any means.
Well, I mean, you're doing it. I mean, we don't. As you said, there's some people doing it, but we know that you're doing it. You're running trips on it too.
I've noticed the difference running the lead on the back of the coppers if you're going to run spoons.
It's easier to get it out there too. Like getting that lead in the water starts catching the lead. It starts to pull that copper out a little nicer.
Right, yeah. And I also run really long leaders though too. I mean, like my mono and or filament leaders are going to be 50, 60 feet long.
Okay.
So they're long. For kings, I want everything as far back as I can get it. I mean, that's why I run the lights on there. My 3-color might be 350 feet away from the boat, plus the 3-color.
I think as you said that, I think it hit me why that would be, right? The moon is out; they could see a lot better. They could see the boat and probably hear it, right?
You can totally see the boat,
stretching
and hear
it, yeah. That makes sense.
Boat and 2 454s, pretty much straight out of the manifold.
Right. Yeah.
It's just
right
all night long, and they can totally see the boat.
Right.
I mean,
you
it's pretty much at night for them. I feel like it's daytime for us. Like when it's night down there and the moon is out, they can see everything above them, just like the sun shining in. Only it's not invasive on their eyeballs.
Right. Yeah.
Because the moon doesn't splash UV light everywhere like the sun does. Mm-hmm. The sun covers, it bathes. Them clear days when the fish lock down, so they can't see anything.
That's super interesting. In terms of speed, I know you said, what do you typically?
I usually start around 2.4, 2.6,
a little bit
2.8
on the higher end.
On the higher end,
Okay.
yeah. I drive fast all the time anyway.
Okay.
You'll never catch my boat going lower than 2.2. Unless we got a trip and it's just a fish trip. One of the things, a lot of my trips are for kings. A lot of my customers, I started in a small boat. I got a lot of customers that want to catch kings, so we go faster. If I got a family trip and we're just catching fish, we'll drop her down to 1.8.
Right, you just focus on catching
whatever
whatever.
else,
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if we're just trying to catch kings, we're going to be going anywhere from 2.4 to 3.5 on average. 2.8's a pretty normal number on the boat. It skitters everything out of lake trout range. So we're not, it's really what it does. I don't think there's a difference in how many kings I catch between 1.8 and 2.8. I think there's a difference between how much time I waste getting other fish in the boat.
I see. Yeah.
Like I'm not out there to catch 10 Lakers and 15 Coho and 2 Steelhead and 1 king. I'm out there to catch your limit of kings and his limit of kings, which is not an easy task anymore on Lake Michigan. And the nighttime has really helped us be able to show somebody what it's like to put a lot of big fish in the boat.
That's really cool. Let me ask you this as we wind things down here. What's your assessment of this past season, last year? So we're in 2024 now, 2023. What do you think in terms of kings numbers and size? How would you compare it to previous years?
I think there was more, but they were smaller. I feel like I caught more smaller fish, like 22, 23, 24. 25 was a huge fish this year.
Yeah.
When like 27, 28, 29, 30 is typically a bigger fish. I didn't see or hear of anybody catching a fish over 32 pounds on the whole lake. I'm not tapped into every tournament, and I don't pay attention to every single thing. But when big fish are caught,
You usually hear about it.
right?
Yeah.
Someone
like
does
they have the
anybody
37
not
that
have
one
a
year.
raspberry carbon spoon?
Oh, I love that spoon.
See, it's I'm
love
not
that
a
spoon.
fan. I think
in the daytime?
the blue one is better than the
blue
purple
carbon?
one. Yeah, the blue carbon's better than the raspberry at night for sure. I just have better luck with the blue color. But that's just me on my boat as fast as I'm going. So you know what I mean? But I think all them carbon colors are good with that white glow on the backside and a different color
I'll
contrast.
tell you what, after last season where black on spoons was such a big deal, was the common denominator, a lot of black on those spoons, your Hulk, which is a lot of black with the green, your
The sniper.
blue carbon, the sniper, raspberry
forget
carbon,
what the
carbon
name of it
14,
is,
the old
but
classic carbon 14.
I caught a lot of fish on that.
It did really well.
The jackal or whatever, blue jackal with the dots on it.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's the white one with the black.
Because it glows blue.
Yeah.
So that's going to be, the one thing that I always start with is I'll have, one of everything out there. One blue one green one green one that glows green, one green one that glows blue, one, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
If I'm going to run my 6 plus my 4 more, so it's 10 total that night. We're not running 18 lines. I don't want to tangle that many lines. And each one's 100 foot away from another one. So when those go off at night too, I don't want there's no mystery of is it going to tangle or not.
Right.
When you got 100 feet in between your boards and you have lights on, that's plenty of room.
Yeah, I was gonna say you because there's the other angle of this too, which is once you get a fish on, you're fighting them in the dark. Yeah, where's my line at? You're trying to really, especially when you pull the board off.
And we run the ninja boards, so that helps a lot. They don't slide around, they don't move all over, and the light stays on there. So as soon as you get to the board, you know where you're at.
Yeah.
And then around, you can tell where you are, but if we need to, we'll throw the lights on. I mean,
Right.
3 Durabright Nanos on the back that are mini suns. And that's one of the things that's great about the light technology that we have nowadays versus what it was when I was a kid. And we'd go walleye fishing up north, and you'd have that little 12 amp thing or whatever with that
the
great
giant,
big giant battery, and you're like can't see 5 feet away from you, and your dad's yelling at you, and don't let us hit any stumps. And you're like, I can't even see anything.
Man,
Now it's literally the red light technology is bright enough that you can fish all night long and never even turn a white light on.
Yeah.
But we run the light if we have to, and we turn it off if we don't need it. Netting fish, we turn it on.
Yeah, sure.
You know, but it's super peaceful.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing is when you're out there. If you're somebody that's like, I like to fish and relax at the same time, it's the most relaxing time.
Yeah. And you're not dealing with other boats. You're not, on top of each other on the hills.
I'm not releasing the cat out of the bag.
Oh yeah, no, everyone's not gonna be there at night. It's
It's
over.
not going to be relaxing anymore. Trust me.
No,
But
everyone's
that
like,
is-
after this podcast is over,
Definitely a big thing.
we've ruined it for you. Thanks.
Right. Yes, America's #1 fishing podcast. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
No, but that's definitely it's a huge consideration. There might be 3 guys out there,
Yeah, no,
you know,
yeah.
and you
absolutely.
all probably know each other, and you're all probably on the radio talking
Networking
to
each other,
and catching
and for
more
safety
fish.
purposes too. If you're out there, I would want to have, hey man, I'm here.
We had a night last summer in June on the full moon that me and one other captain went out all night long, and we took a picture in the morning with 60 kings and our customers. And that guy rebooked immediately. Both boats. Both boats. I mean, that's why we do that trip.
Yeah.
You know, because the days of going out and getting 15 kings and a couple other fish are over. They don't put a million kings in anymore. So I'm fishing them when I feel like they're the
Well,
most
they're
valuable.
upticking the
They're
put-ins.
getting it.
We're getting
They're
closer.
getting it.
They're getting
I mean,
closer,
There's
yeah.
a lot of kings in
And
the
in
lake
Michigan,
compared to 5 years ago.
isn't my understanding Michigan's going to up their size now after they saw the success in Wisconsin?
I don't remember what the numbers were, but
Yeah. But, I mean, the
everybody got
increase-
jealous of Wisconsin.
No, but that's super awesome.
But it's good, though. I think it's
is.
good, yeah.
And it's actually funny when you look at like the breakdown of where fish were caught and what was caught where. It's pretty surprising, actually. A lot of places you think catch a lot of fish are behind a lot of places that you wouldn't think catch a lot of fish. So,
Interesting stuff, man. I
but Algoma still wrecks the kings. They crush, they kill everybody by double almost.
Yeah.
It's crazy how many fish they catch up there.
that in Sturgeon Bay in the summertime too. They do really well.
They're number 1 and number 2.
Yep.
Those 2 grid coordinates goes Oklahoma, then Sturgeon Bay, then Sheboygan, and you'll never guess where number 4 is, ever in a million years.
Is that something you're going to tell us off air, or is it nothing?
I can tell you on air.
Oh, okay. I'm just
Just for kings. All I looked at was king data last year, and I only know the top 4 because I don't remember the rest. Because I was super surprised at what number 4 was.
What was it?
Kenosha,
Oh.
which I was like by a long shot. The next closest at number 5 is like half of what Kenosha was. I was totally surprised that they caught that many more kings than.
Well, it's one of the
see it.
busier. It's
Yeah.
one of the busier ports.
I can kind of see that,
And-
though.
And that's and
mean,
this
charters-
is charter. This is
Yeah.
charter.
There's more
reporting.
charters
Right.
out
Yep,
of
this is
Kenosha.
charter reporting
Yeah.
versus not. And when you look at
Yeah.
the scene in Kenosha, there's quadruple as many. in
Exactly.
Kenosha
So right
versus-
off the bat, there you're going to have
Yeah.
more fish.
I think Milwaukee was number 5, and that's another numbers game. Mm-hmm. You know, but Algoma was number 1 by far and away, and then Sturgeon.
We got to get up there. We were planning to do something like last year, but you had the house thing going on. You brought me
Yeah, I
home
ruined
and-
all that by moving.
Yeah, you
so.
killed all my video plans, Rob. Thank you. But yeah, we got to get out there to just document that. I know people talk about the what is it called? Not the hill, the drop
bank
off,
reef.
the bank.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
the
that
bank
thing. Some of these other areas that just seem very interesting to at least document that fishing experience, because everyone talks about the big conga line of just you go down one way, you come up the other way, and you just keep doing
Well,
that.
and the
whole
cool thing is at night you don't have to worry about that kind
Oh, yeah,
of.
yeah.
And
you're
that's
right.
honestly like I started with my small boat, and fishing up north at night for kings is insane. I did it in Michigan. It works over there. Taught a fellow captain on the other side of the lake how to do that. We had a blast. It just works. If there's
Yeah.
kings around, go out at night, drag spoons that glow with lead, and you'll catch them.
So, for those that might want to learn that firsthand, or just say, you know what, I want to experience this at least once. Let people know where they can find you at and reach you for one of these few available bookings.
Right, yeah. So any social media is just hashtag Foul Dogs. It's FOWLDAWGS. My website, Foul Dogs LLC. I'm on Fish Booker. Actually have a Angler's Choice Award from Fish Booker last year. That was cool.
Nice.
We are also phone number 414-399-7302. You can text me or message me or call me on there.
In Homeport? For people to-
Racine. Right in the river. The new chart room is wide open, and they're reopening the bar, the Bridge Tender bar. So there's going to be a lot of good food options there too, which is pretty sweet. You know, you can eat and before or after you go fishing.
Yeah.
Which
pretty
is
convenient.
Nice. I call them. You know, if we're on an afternoon trip, we'll call them on the way in, and food will be ready when you get to the bar.
Sounds like a good time, man.
Yeah, it's
a real good time.
It's great. It's a good port. They're really doing a lot of things with it too. It wasn't very nice for a long time, and now they're really starting to renovate and starting to do some nice things.
Oh yeah, well yeah.
They resealed that whole parking lot. It looks really nice.
Yeah, well, because that downtown area, they're kind of upping it up.
Yeah,
I think all these cities are
really
realizing that
renovating.
waterfront estate
And
is.
that's just it.
Yep.
So they're all these waterfront
All
cities
the
are
old waterfront
yeah.
cities. You know, you go to the East Coast, and they all look
rejuvenations.
like
Yeah.
hell, and then now here everybody's making them look nice, so it doesn't look like the East Coast anymore.
Don't look like Jersey.
Well, the cool thing too is like certain ports are starting to support the fishing again a little better. I think for a long time that was lost. Kenosha always did really good. Algoma, obviously, Port Washington. But
Well, I think they see that the money's coming in, right? The guys are bringing in money. He's bringing in people to go to the restaurant. You one hand washes the other. It's in everybody's best interest that
Business
the restaurants,
breeds
the
business,
cities, and everyone works together with the the fishing industry on Lake Michigan alone is a multi-billion-dollar industry. So it brings business to the area. Food, not housing, but accommodations, and so it's great to see. It's definitely great to see that more of this is happening, and more of a reason for people to get out there and fish. Supports the local economy.
Cool too. Like we actually went really hard on corporate packages this year during the day. We still fish every single day, so don't not call me to fish during the day. But like some of our packages that we've done. Things I've noticed over the years, people used to not care if they got a bag of fish fillets and, here it is, see you later, and it's just a huge bag of fish. Corporate guys, they don't really know what to do with that. So we started sealing the fish, vacuum packing the fish as an option, making sure, because we clean them, obviously.
Yeah.
But trips, one of our options for our deluxe package, besides the sealing and packaging and actually giving you the ice in the cooler to take home so you don't have to worry about it, is we provide the food and the drinks too, which are things that people are like, well, what do I do on a fishing trip, or what do I bring, or what do I take? Don't worry about it. Just get a license, get on the boat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We'll take care of everything for you. You'll have a great day.
Yeah.
Go out and, you go to the
make it very
and you
easy
think
for them,
about
yeah.
it, that package is an extra $150 on our normal stuff, and you get vacuum sealed fish. And if you go to the grocery store and you buy a couple cases of pop and a couple cases of snacks, you're gonna get a bill bigger than $150.
Yep.
Yeah,
Pretty.
that's kind of sad at this point. But yeah, that's
Totally
so true.
insane what groceries are.
It is.
It's.
Dude,
So
I
what
walked
we've done
out.
is we've tried to make it so that it's easier.
Yeah.
We can't make it free. I wish we could. I wish we could take everybody fishing every day for absolutely no cost. But there's gas, and we got bills, and gear's got to get replaced.
No, it's business.
But if we've made it easier to go fishing and to deal with fishing after. Like if your fish is packaged when you get home, you put it in the freezer.
Yeah, that's all you have to
Instead
do.
of standing at the counter for 30, I think a lot of people don't realize too, when they come on a fishing charter for the first time, they don't realize how much fish they're going to take home.
Yeah.
So they take home 30 fish, and they're like, "Holy cow, what do I do with all this?" And they get
it's
a
all
big,
kings.
They
That's
basically
That's a lot of meat.
Right. I mean, last year we had that trip, a couple of times on the full moon where we caught 30 fish each night, and we're cleaning 30 kings, and give them a trash bag full of meat, and they're like, "Well, now I got to go home and seal it for 2 hours."
Yeah.
So that's something we've started offering.
I
as a
do my
service.
5 kings, and I catch it. I'm like, all right, oh god, so much. I don't want to have to vacuum because even 5 king fillets. 5 kings fillets to 10 fillets. That's a lot to still vac seal.
If you have a vac seal bag big enough, a lot of times you got to cut it.
I end up cutting them because then what I do is I'll just I'll put them in I'll fillet them down, and then I'll put like 3 or 4 per package. That way, when I pull them out, I know I'll
They're
cook
ready to
those.
eat.
Yeah, a lot of times
yeah.
one fillet, one good sized king fillet, is just too much for one meal
That's
anyway.
Yeah,
so
it is.
Like a
It
big
really is.
king.
you got to cut it up.
And a
Yeah.
big June silver king that's
Yeah.
25 pounds. That's
Yep.
going to be.
That's
you know,
that's literally
a family of 4.
literally 3 meals. Yeah.
And when I clean and package those for people, I ask them, "Are you going to smoke this?" Because I'll leave it whole. Because that looks cool at Christmas. You know, you bring out your smoked fillet for Christmas and Thanksgiving. Or you're a farmer, if you're a hunter, and you're giving it away to somebody. But if you're going to eat it, we
Just,
chunk it
yeah,
up and
chunk it up,
package it
yeah.
individually so that you don't have to worry about, well, I just thawed
a big
5
old
pounds
yeah.
of fish.
Now I
that
got to
I'm
eat
gonna-
this for the whole week.
Right. And it's like Thanksgiving.
Yeah, every day. Yeah, no, that's pretty amazing. And well, listen, thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was great.
I know you made a trip down here, but that was really cool to get that insight into just a different side of it that maybe not many people thought about.
Yeah, we just don't hear about it much.
You just don't
anymore.
hear about it. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's really cool to hear that it's still going.
And if you guys want to go out and bring the camera, I'm not opposed
I
to
would
it.
love to. I think that would be amazing.
Cool.
Like you got to figure that one out because you got to come with.
Yep.
But that would be cool, so we could document that, and see what that really is all about. So we'll talk about that because I think people would love to see that.
Yeah.
It might. We'll have to work on the, for video purposes at night. It's not always the best. We'll have to figure that logistics out, but it could be done. That'd be super cool to see
Get
that.
night vision.
Yeah, put night vision on.
Lots of red lights.
So, yeah, thanks again for coming by, joining us for the podcast. Folks, if you guys are interested, again, share the info. I'll put it down below in the video description. You can check them out and maybe make that a experience for yourself, not just night fishing, but just fishing in general, to get out there with foul
That's
dogs.
the one thing is I think that's a really underutilized pastime in Wisconsin. You think about taking a family of 6 to a baseball game or a football game nowadays or a basketball game. You're $150 a ticket plus $50 per person in food and drinks.
And they're not even good tickets.
And, you're in the middle of nowhere. You go to a golf. Say you're a sales guy or an insurance guy and you take your guys out for golf for the day. That's $1,500. For fishing, $750, $1,000 for a day. Go out, got some fish.
And you get some meat.
Great memories.
Yeah.
Especially if you have kids. I've never met a kid that did not like reeling in a fish.
Oh yeah,
They might not want to touch it, and we have things for that.
yeah,
But they all want to reel one in.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it really is a great time to get out there and experience the water for sure, and take advantage of our really great fishing on Lake Michigan. These last couple of years have been some great years we've had. We're very fortunate, and hopefully it'll continue to go that way.
You are right. We are really lucky with the fishing that we have because every single month we have a different target, and we can catch a lot of
There's
fish.
just always something for us in
Closer
our
to
area
Coho
specifically.
Yeah,
too.
even when the fishing's tough, it's really better in most other places.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
Pretty spoiled.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you guys for watching this episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to like, subscribe to the channel, share it with a friend. I think after this episode, we'll have one more to close out the third year of our Lake Michigan kayak fishing. I'm sorry, not Lake Michigan the Angler podcast. But Rob, any final thoughts?
I'm looking forward to doing some night fishing. I think you're gonna have a lot more competition out there this year.
Yeah, after this one, and it's over. He's like, should have never done this podcast.
No, that's the cool. Like my thing with fishing, and hunting is one thing. There's only so many ducks and there's only so many deer.
So much
But
land.
There's an endless amount of fish, and the thing is, like, if you think they're here, they're probably over here anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, you can go anywhere out there and catch fish. That's the coolest thing. That's what I like about it is I don't have to follow the herd.
Yeah.
I don't have to get in the conga line all the time. Even during the day, you can go away from the crowd and still catch your 30 fish and go back home and not have any headaches all day long.
Yep.
And
That's
that's
the
the
beauty
cool
of it.
part about Lake Michigan is there's not too many other lakes that you can do that.
Exactly.
No, definitely makes it very, very unique. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching. We will see you guys in the next episode. Bye.